If you've been following AI releases lately, you've probably felt the pattern. Every few weeks there's a new model, a new chart, a new "this changes everything." But every once in a while, a release hits a nerve for a different reason, not because it's slightly better at trivia, but because it changes who can realistically build with frontier-level capability. And that's why a DeepSeek V4 video is suddenly overperforming on channels that usually have pretty stable view baselines, because the story isn't just new model. The story is, the economics of long context and high capability are getting attacked at the architecture level, and the industry is drifting toward a world where frontier isn't just something you rent from 3 labs. So today, I'm going to break down what DeepSeek V4 is claiming.
Who are you?
What parts are genuinely interesting from a systems and developer point of view, and where the hype can get ahead of the reality. If you are new to this channel, please hit the like button and subscribe. It greatly helps out the channel and allows us to continue creating videos. This is the Daily Logs, and you are watching the Daily Logs. Let's start with the boring but important framing. DeepSeek V4 is being described as a next-generation mixture of experts language model family, MOE, with a big emphasis on making million-token context practical. And that last phrase matters, because for the last couple of years, long context has mostly been marketing, a number on a spec sheet. Yes, you could sometimes send more tokens, but the costs and latency often made it feel like a demo feature, not something you'd build product around.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
DeepSeek's V4 pitch, according to the model card and the associated technical report, is that they've redesigned the attention path so long context is more efficient, using a hybrid attention design that combines compressed sparse attention for selective long-range recall with heavily compressed attention for broader long-range coverage. The Hugging Face Transformers documentation also summarizes several architectural changes: a hybrid local plus long-range attention design, manifold constrained hyperconnections, and a routing schedule that bootstraps early MOE layers. You don't have to memorize those terms. The point is, this is an attempt to make long context cheaper by design, not just by throwing more GPUs at the same scaling curve. Why the internet cares. The developer angle. Here's the mental model that makes this click. Most real software products don't need a model that's 3% better at the benchmark. They need a model that, 1, can actually see enough of the world, documents, tickets, code bases, 2, can do it at a cost you can afford, 3, can be deployed in a way that fits your constraints. Long context hits all 3. A million tokens is roughly multiple large code bases, or a thick internal wiki, or a pile of regulatory PDFs. Now, I'm not saying you should naively dump 1 million tokens into a prompt and pray, but if the cost curve bends enough, it changes what reasonable looks like. Instead of building a complicated retrieval system just to feed tiny chunks of context, some teams start asking, what if we keep a much larger rolling window? What if we can do deeper audits, or richer agent memory, or long horizon planning? Even if the answer is not always, the option value matters, and that's why the DeepSeek V4 cluster is drawing attention. It's perceived as an upgrade in capability per dollar, not just capability. The second layer, open weights plus ecosystem. Now, let's talk about the part that quietly changes the market. A big reason these releases pop is because people believe they can actually use them. If a model is only available through a single API, you get one pricing model, one policy regime, one rate limit story. But when models are distributed through ecosystems like Hugging Face, and you start seeing compatible implementations, docs, inference providers, and model cards, the model becomes an object that an ecosystem can wrap. That's a huge deal, because it means even if you personally never self-host the biggest variant, you still benefit from more providers competing on price, more tools that support the model family, more reproducible evaluation, and a wider community that can test, poke holes, and ship practical recipes. Now, let's do the necessary skepticism. Whenever you see phrases like game changer, here are the 3 questions you should ask. First, what exactly is being measured? Benchmarks are not a single truth machine. Different harnesses, different prompting, different dataset versions, they can swing results. So, beats closed model X is not a fact. It's a claim that needs replication. Second, does long context actually help this workload? Long context is not a magic memory. If you feed 800 pages of documents, the model can still miss key details. Sometimes retrieval, carefully choosing the right 20 paragraphs, is better than a giant context window. A bigger window can reduce how often you have to retrieve, but it doesn't eliminate the need for good grounding. Third, can you actually deploy it? Open weight doesn't mean runs on my laptop. The top variants can be extremely demanding. So for many teams, the real shift is not I will self-host V4. It's there are now more competitive providers and more competitive pricing pressure. The geopolitics supply chain sidebar. There's another reason V4 is getting attention, and it's not strictly technical. Some mainstream reporting frames this release in the context of export controls and chip supply chains, including claims about optimization for Huawei's Ascend processors and the broader US-China AI competition narrative. Regardless of how you feel about the politics, the product implication is simple. If leading models are increasingly tied to different hardware stacks and regional ecosystems, then the AI platform becomes more fragmented. And fragmentation means different model families are strong in different places, different availability constraints, and different default stacks depending on where you operate. That's not a distant future. It's already part of how these releases are being discussed. What this means for you, practical takeaways. So, what should you do with this as a builder? Here are 4 concrete takeaways. 1. Treat long context models as a new design space, not a drop-in replacement. Don't just increase the context window and call it a day. Measure whether bigger windows reduce your retrieval complexity or just increase your bill. And when you test it, don't start with the full million tokens. Start with something like 32,000, 128,000, 256,000, and watch where quality actually improves. For a lot of apps, the win isn't stuff everything in. It's keep more of the write history around, like the last 200 support tickets for a customer, or a rolling window of a monorepo, plus the recent diffs. 2. Build evaluation harnesses you can trust. If your product depends on Model X is better, you need your own evals, your own documents, your own tasks, your own scoring. If your workload is code or incidents, add adversarial cases, misleading comments, stale docs, circular dependencies, conflicting runbooks. Long context can actually make a model more confident while it's wrong, because it can find something that sounds relevant and then anchor on it. 3. Assume claims will be overstated at first. For every real breakthrough, there's a version of the story that's simplified for clicks. So keep the excitement, but keep the skepticism. 4. Watch the ecosystem, not just the model. The real long-run shift usually isn't one model. It's the competition it triggers, pricing, providers, tooling support, and the pace at which frontier features become commoditized. And here's a practical rule of thumb. If you can't explain your long context feature without saying the model will just figure it out, you probably need retrieval, citations, or structure constraints. The most reliable systems tend to be hybrids: retrieval for grounding, long context for continuity, and tight tools for anything that has to be correct. If DeepSeek v4's long context efficiency claims hold up under independent replication, it's not just another model. It's a signal that the frontier is being pulled outward and downward in cost, which changes who gets to build. And even if the first wave is messy, the direction is clear. Long context is moving from a marketing number into a real engineering battleground. And that's exactly why this topic is showing up as a YouTube outlier. Thanks for watching the Daily Logs. I'll see you in the next one.